You've probably heard about it by now. Lab-grown meat, cultivated meat, 3D printed steak, meat without slaughter, no factory farms, no blood on your plate. The future of protein. On the surface, it sounds like the perfect cheat code. Keep your burgers and save the animals. But even tech this fascinating needs a closer look before we call it genius. In this video, I want to do 3 things. First, break down what lab-grown, cultivated and 3D printed meat really are and how they're produced, why they're suddenly everywhere, and whether they deserve your confidence or money. Second, understand why scientists and investors are racing behind this innovation. And third, the uncomfortable part, is this the breakthrough we really think it is, or just a smarter version of the same old system? Let's start with the basics because the science matters for the ethics. Lab-grown meat, also called cultured, cultivated or cell-based meat, is made by taking a small number of cells from a living animal, usually through a biopsy. Those cells are placed in nutrient-rich growth medium and kept in large steel tanks called bioreactors. Inside those tanks, the cells multiply, differentiate and eventually form muscle tissue, sometimes along with fat and connective tissue. 3D printed meat is a related approach that uses these cells in biomaterials but prints them layer by layer using a bioprinter to mimic the structure of real meat, its fibers, marbling and texture. This is not a distant science fiction. Singapore approved cultivated chicken for sale in 2020 and the United States authorized cultivated chicken from 2 companies in 2023. Dozens of startups around the world like Upside Foods, Good Meat, Mosa Meat and others have raised billions of dollars to commercialize beef, pork, seafood and pet food made this way. The cost per kilo has fallen by orders of magnitude compared with the first lab burger in 2013. So yes, cultured meat is moving out of the lab and into our food system. Now the obvious question, why are we even doing this? Why not simply shift to eating plants? Because the current animal agriculture system is breaking our planet, but the demand for meat isn't slowing down as fast as we would like for it to. So we need other solutions in the meantime. Factory farming and feed production are responsible for a large chunk of food system greenhouse gas emissions, massive deforestation, biodiversity loss, and huge freshwater use, while providing only a small fraction of global calories and protein in return. If nothing changes, that means more factory farms, more animals bred into existence, more slaughterhouses, more antibiotics, and a higher risk of zoonotic diseases and pandemics. No serious climate or biodiversity strategy can ignore animal agriculture anymore. Innovations like cultivated and 3D printed meat exist because many societies are not plant-based yet, trying to offer a bridge, not a replacement for a future where compassion is the norm. Alternative proteins including plant-based meats, fermentation-derived proteins, and cultivated meat are being treated by researchers and policy groups as tools to decouple meat-like experiences. The idea is not vegans need lab meat, it's most people are not going vegan fast enough and we're running out of time, so we need scalable options that can displace at least part of conventional meat demand. So even if you personally don't want or need lab-grown meat, at the systems level, there is a strong case for it. It's about damage control in a world that refuses to change quickly. On paper, the environmental numbers for cultivated meat are impressive. Life cycle assessments suggest that if powered by low-carbon energy, cultivated meat could cut greenhouse gas emissions by around 78 to 96% compared with conventional beef, while using up to 99% less land and dramatically less water. Freeing that land could mean more forests, more rewilding, or more crops grown directly for humans instead of for animal feed. From a health perspective, cultivated meat production doesn't rely on routine antibiotics, which are heavily used in factory farming and drive antimicrobial resistance. Production happens in controlled, sterile facilities, which reduces contamination risks, and the nutritional profile can be tweaked, for example, lowering saturated fat or removing cholesterol. From a pure harm reduction angle, that's a big deal. Lowering emissions, avoiding antibiotics, and freeing up land for nature, that's a meaningful step in the right direction and progress worth paying attention to. Now let's get to the part that most mainstream coverage glosses over. In the early days, many lab-grown meat companies use fetal bovine serum, FBS, to grow cells. It's basically nutrients taken from the blood of a fetus inside a slaughtered pregnant cow. Roughly 2 million fetal extractions happen every year for this serum. A product celebrated as no killing can begin with an input that requires slaughter, a gap between promise and practice, and that matters if we're taking ethics seriously. The good news, several companies are now developing serum-free mediums, and a few have already received regulatory approval for products made without FBS. Although not all of it is fully cruelty-free yet, there is active scientific work on fully animal-free growth options, and momentum is moving in that direction. But we can argue that even when the growth medium becomes animal-free, the cells themselves still come from animals. A tiny biopsy starts the cell line, and while these lines can be used for years, we rarely know how the donor animals live or how those cells were first taken. For many vegans and abolition-minded folks, that ongoing link still matters. And then there's the bigger question, who's investing in this? Some of the loudest supporters are major meat and agri-business companies. That doesn't make the tech bad, but it does raise a question. Are we reinventing meat or just repackaging it? This is the big seductive promise, we'll end slaughter. Realistically, the picture is more complicated. Growing meat in a lab is one thing. Growing it at the scale of the meat industry is another. To replace even a small part of the global meat industry, we need a huge amount of bioreactors, massive capital, affordable growth media, and clean energy to run it. It could take decades before cultivated meat is the norm. And while it won't magically make slaughterhouses disappear next year, because of it, millions of animals are spared suffering they would have otherwise endured. Think of it not as the solution, but as one solution among many, a temporary bridge, a harm reduction tool in a world still learning how to choose better. It may not end the system overnight, but it can help loosen its grip while we build a better one. That's a win worth acknowledging. Where do vegans stand? Two ethical camps. Now let's talk about where this sits in the vegan space, because even here opinions are split. The Vegan Society and several major groups agree on two things. Cultivated meat could reduce animal suffering and environmental damage, but it's still not vegan, at least not yet, because it uses animal cells and historically relied on animal-derived serum. And veganism is not just about minimizing harm, but rejecting the use of animals as commodities altogether. So naturally, two ethical camps here have emerged. The harm reduction view, people say if this technology means fewer animals being bred, confined or slaughtered, then it can be a useful transitional tool. They may stick to plant-based foods personally, but they see cultivated meat as something that could help non-vegans move away from factory farming, especially when the process becomes fully animal-free. The abolitionist view, this side believes that even if no one is being killed for a particular batch, the idea itself still centers animals as raw material. If it's grown from animal cells and sold as real meat, it keeps the worldview intact that animals for their bodies exist for human use. For them, cultivated meat crosses that line. And honestly, both stances come from compassion, just in different ethical priorities. Neither side is fake because of it. So is it ethical for you as a vegan to eat cultured or 3D printed meat? There isn't one universal answer. It depends on what grounds your veganism. The truth is, cultivated meat is not designed for vegans. It's designed to replace animal meat for those who won't give it up. But if you, as a vegan, ever choose to try it in a future where it aligns with your values, that's a personal decision, not a moral test. At this stage, it sits in a gray zone, promising, imperfect, evolving, and what you do with that information is yours to choose. So should we support it? Here's where I land with all of this. Cultured and 3D printed meat could help, especially if it replaces the most harmful forms of factory farming and gives us a way to reduce slaughter and emissions while the world slowly transitions. In that sense, it's a harm reduction tool and not a bad one. But it's not the finish line. It doesn't yet ask the deeper cultural question of why meat feels essential to us or why animals remain the reference point for what food should taste like. Tech can soften the impact of the system, but it can't transform the mindset that built it. So my view is simple. Innovation has a role, especially when business as usual is breaking our planet. If cultivated meat reduces harm, it deserves space in the transition. But liberation asks for something bigger, a world where animals are not products in any form. I don't need meat recreated in a lab to move forward. Plants already feed me beautifully, fully, joyfully. What excites me more is a future where the idea of growing muscle tissue in anything, a body or a bioreactor, feels like a relic from an old world we outgrow. The most radical idea we have right now is not in a shiny lab, it's in our everyday choices. Cultivated and 3D meat might be a smart stepping stone to a kinder, greener, healthier future, but it's us who have to evolve first.